All right, traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and today is Thursday the 7th. So we got hit with a little bit of volatility today. There was a couple different stories out, I guess, if you're really looking for the reasoning behind it. But two things. Europe was really weak today. When we kind of woke up this morning, there was let me just bring just to see where the DAX closed today, but just to give you the visualization. But when we woke up this morning, keep in mind again, China has been closed. China, the Hang Seng, I believe, reopens tonight. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I believe they were just off for 3 days. Shanghai is closed for the whole week, but those are two different markets, Shanghai and the Hang Seng. But you could see where the DAX closed today, which is right smack on the lows. Here's the visualization of where this opened and where it closed. So pretty ugly. And they had more weak economic data that kind of was the catalyst there. But down 2.7%. So they really got hit hard. Spain and Italy, Spain down 1.8%, Italy down 2.6%. So it's really hard for the U.S. market when something like that happens to kind of go up on the day. We did get a nice rebound. Until then, there was news coming out about Trump not meeting Xi for T and no, I'm just kidding. They're not meeting before this trade deadline, which kind of says that it's going to be difficult for this thing to get wrapped up. So you may have already had a view on that, whether or not that was going to be whether the trade deal is going to be or trade situation is going to be resolved by March 1st, and it doesn't look like it's going to be that way. So was that priced into the market? Was that a surprise for the market? I mean, I think a little bit. I mean, I wasn't personally, I wasn't thinking that they would resolve the situation by March 1st, but maybe make some headway to kind of get the major obstacles done and get a lot of progress done. So the fact that they're not going to meet, isn't such a warm and fuzzy feeling, right? So let's turn to the technicals. So those were the main catalyst for us down today, but all in all, considering what I just said, down 1% is not that big of a deal. So we're still holding. So what did we do? We basically lost the 5-period moving average. We did this a little bit back here. I think a lot of people are going to talk about the 200-day moving average. It really I go back and forth with this. If you listen to my videos before, I'd like to take the contrarian view. See my video yesterday where I was talking about which I talk about a lot. I have a love-hate relationship with option activity. I really try to look at this stuff objectively. You could see my video yesterday on that, how I didn't like people getting everybody FOMO about options and semiconductors. And sure enough, it looks like that was a pretty on-the-money thing that I said yesterday. I'm giving myself congratulating myself a little bit with that call. But, but, yeah, I mean, so the 200-day moving average, right? So it depends on the sector. It really does. I'm not a holder of the S&P. There's some things that the market, the sectors within and the 500 names within the S&P are going to move all over the place. If you don't believe me, so why are some sectors above the 200-day moving average and why are some below? Right? And of course, I see CNBC right now talk with the 200-day moving average on it. But again, it really depends on the stocks that you're in. Because look at IGV, which is, my software. And I know I mentioned yesterday that there's gaming stocks in here too, which kind of brought this thing down yesterday. But if we look at the daily chart of IGV, we've already gone through the moving average and it hasn't been a problem. There was a little bit of consolidation around the 200-day moving average. But look at us go through here. So it all depends on the stocks you own. So I just don't buy into that the whole market is going to stop and turn away because the S&P hit the 200-day moving average. I just don't buy it. There's more to it than that. Yes, it's it is a level that people look at. Same thing with the Qs, and they may say, okay, logically speaking, we've made this really nice swing up to the 200-day moving average. Maybe I want to take some money off the table here, right? That's a logical interpretation of it. And that makes sense. I think after a long run, we've been talking about that, making sure that you're taking, and that was my theme of the day yesterday is, do you want to be adding risk here? And in my opinion, you want to be taking off more money than putting on. Even now, I think it's now that we've lost the 5 day moving average, which I've been a big advocate of just watching that. In the short time, it looks like some things ran out of steam. I don't really know what's going on with why these FANG stocks look a little bit weaker, right? I just showed that chart of IGV and the software names. I mean, Amazon down 1.6%. Just doesn't seem like these are the names. Google, just to kind of start with a couple of these names, completely, was looking great, move above on earnings day, recovery, move back above the 200-day moving average. And then yesterday, which I didn't see until the end of the day, but the thing closed and took out the lows of where it opened the day before, and then it fell back further. So I don't know. It just doesn't seem like people are really interested in the FANG stocks right now. So that's fine. Let these things go out of favor. We'll find new ones, and we've been doing that. Today, I will tell you. I'll talk about some of the earnings names, which I forgot to do that yesterday. But I mean, look at Workday. I mean, these right now are your market leaders. Who know? Do I know how long this is going to go on for? But no. But Coop is another one. I started looking at these today saying, hey, maybe these things will pull back a little bit, because I basically, if you've been following me, I loaded up on a bunch of these positions and then I took them all off. CRM is another one that I'm not really a huge fan of this right at the time being, because it looks like it stalled out right at the previous high. So we'll see what it does here in terms of digestion. Maybe something like this would be constructive. Team is another one that I was in, even though this one continues. I think it was down just a little bit today, down 1% today. But I basically took all these things off. I was in Autodesk, Adobe. I was in NTNX. I was in. I could list 5 other ones that I've been trading. Coop I was in for a while. So I took off all my exposure in these, and I'm looking for a pullback, and really just haven't had it. I did get into ZS today, which looks like that was a good entry so far. This was good enough for me to kind of get back in, a little bit of a pullback, and I like the support. I call these easy trades. None of them are easy trades, but I like that there's the top of value that I can get in that I can get out if it doesn't work. Let me talk about earnings just for a minute, but again, that's the area that I'm kind of most focused on. I will say that energy, I think gave a fake out. Like I've been talking about how I wanted to get into some other areas besides software and technology, and so I started looking at energy, and so here's another example. A lot of XOP calls bought the other day. I think there was like 13,000 of the XOP calls, and look at what it's doing. So again, just gives you a sense of the option. Again, I don't want to get on the subject again because I'm beating a dead horse, but people just don't talk about the ones that don't work. There was, I think, 13,000 of the March, I think it was 31 calls that were all bought. And look at what it did today, down 4.3%. So again, my take on this really quick is that they're ideas, right? When you see option activity on the tape, about 10%. Again, I don't have any stats for this. About 10% of the time, they know something. The other 90% is just you and I. It's trade ideas. So if you bought these, you got buried in them. So it is what it is. Let's not try to hide that. Now you could say, if you really like it, maybe you could get in cheaper than the original call buyer. But for me, this didn't go the way that I was looking for it to go. I had set an alert, and we talked about this in the trading room 2 days ago. I said I'm going to wait until this breaks value. So thank you, value areas. 3114 was the alert that I set, and I never got. The alert never went off. So this was a really good miss. And sometimes even trades that you don't put on, that you avoid, because there's option activity, you don't jump into it. You wait for something else, right? A lot of times it's good to have multiple reasons. I like to have 2 or 3 reasons every time I go into a position, not just option activity. So anyway, but disappointing. Disappointing to see the energy sector do this. And we'll keep an eye on it. Just because that one red candle, sometimes there are fake moves. So I'll put an alert back here. Maybe 29.53 will just let me know that it gets back into value. But I still have the alert placed for 31.14. And there was other names that we were looking at. We were looking at SLB. We were looking at what's the sand? There's another one, SLCA as well. This just because they had one day doesn't mean they're done, but a good miss by not taking the option activity. Okay, that's one group. I wanted to talk a little bit about the earnings. I think earnings, some of them, some trades have been really good. A lot of the software, what's the one name that reported today? Is it RPD? I think Rapid 7 is up nicely. But I tell you, I think it's more micro versus macro. And I'll explain what that means. Other than the software group that seems to be putting out really good numbers, and the semi group of what we've seen as well, right? The semis all reported bad numbers, but they've all gone up. Two groups, I think it's pretty much micro, meaning it really depends on the company. MAT is up big. Skechers is up big. But, I mean, Chipotle was up big today. And McDonald's and, Dunkin' Brands reported and they were down big. So it really depends on how the company is executing. And some of these are really difficult. Like MAT, there was a Tribeca Trade Group member today who said that they liked MAT, and I'm like, well, I'm not taking it personally because I looked at the earnings history and it just didn't line up for my system. But I said, don't let me please just discourage you because I don't know if MAT is going to move up, and they're up to 1440. So, and same thing with Skechers too. Skechers is up, I think, now for the second quarter in a row. This has done this. The last time I played Skechers, it went down 20%. The last time I played it, so I did not play anything for earnings today. But yeah, I mean, you look at Dunkin', right? The difference between, Dunkin' was down 3% today, not that bad, but Chipotle was, didn't close on the highs, but still up a monster, 59 points, 11%. I wish I had a couple other examples for you, but I think you know what I mean. In some groups, it really just depends. I mean, Boeing and Caterpillar are good examples too, right? Boeing crushes it. Caterpillar, misses pretty badly. So it's besides some of these areas that I think are consistent, what the semis have done and what software. It's been really, I think, difficult to get the right ones on. Expedia had good numbers, so they're up. I'm long TripAdvisor. I didn't play Expedia, but I'm long TripAdvisor. So I was going to add to my TripAdvisor position today, but I decided not to because I figured it would move on Expedia. But two inside days. So all in all, and I gave a lot of updates on existing positions. For the most part, some of my newer swing positions, especially ones that I own in stock, not much to do today. They did not hit the stops. So you kind of have to decide if you want to add, and sometimes they're really good ads when you do that. But yeah, the one position I think I started today was ZS. So that's it. Do I have anything else I wanted to add? Oh, keep your eye on EA Sports. So let me go over the technicals in EA. I thought it was interesting. Nobody really talking about it, but EA made a higher low. I almost said it backwards. EA made a higher low and was quietly up 4.8% today. Notice the other thing is, right, they reported bad news, horrible news, and the stock did not make a new low. So I think this is interesting. It's going to have to get through, do more work, but I understand that they released a new game today, similar to, and I'm going to say it. I say these names wrong. I pronounce everything incorrectly, but Fortnite, not Fortinet, not the security company. And this is it's a free game like Fortnite to download, but I guess it costs money for the, if you want to do the upgrades in the game. But they released this game this week, and they had 10 million players in 3 days. This thing called Apex Legends. So I don't know. I heard a little bit of buzz about this today. So I don't. Maybe they've got something cooking. And considering, if you look on, I don't know what's the game console. I haven't played games in a long time since Nintendo, Legend of Zelda. But so I'm not an expert. But if you go on to what is it, Twitch or whatever, you could see that this was the most downloaded game today. So something to keep an eye on. EA, I think it's a nice risk to reward to take a shot on it personally. Again, videos for information purposes only. And hope to see you in the trading room tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.